Yeah, where's Ezra?
Oh, that is, he saw the message, so you should be here. Is Ezra,
There's Gergevin.
okay, perfect. Okay, so let's just do this one more time just for the record. So I'd like to call the meeting to order at 8:36 PM on September 22nd, 2021. I'd like to acknowledge that the offices of the Wilfrid Lawyers Students Union are located on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee people. As for regrets, I've received none. However, we are missing Director Cindy, Vice Chair Steve, who should be coming in momentarily. Now can we get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Motion by Director Bothwell, seconded by Director Vale. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? Director Bothwell, okay, I guess not. Then all those in favor, Director Bothwell?
I approve. Also, Ezra thought it was at 10, so he's on his way.
I think, you know what, I think it's just all those emergency meetings at 10 that's gone into everyone's head there. So I'm very happy that now we have proper regular meeting times. Yes, moving on, Director Shando.
He has an I approve in the chat.
Perfect. Yeah, I just saw that. Thank you. I assume that his mic is still not working since the last meeting. Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director May,
I approve.
Director McCarthy.
I approve.
Perfect. Thank you. Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Stevie.
I approve. I'm so sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much. This is just the motion to adopt the agenda, so it is passed unanimously. Now moving on to conflict of interest. Do we have any conflicts of interest to declare? As I see none, now moving forward, can I get a motion on the table to approve the consent agenda for the monitoring report GP1? So that's just for the global governance process. A motion by Director Vale, seconded by Director Del Giudice. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? I see none. All those in favor, Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Shandok. Thank you. Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director May,
I approve.
Director McCarthy,
I approve.
Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
The motion passes unanimous consent. Moving on, we have the approval of the consent agenda. So this is the monitoring reports for executive limitations 2B, 2C, 2G, and 2N. A motion to approve it. Motion by Director Shandok, seconded by
Oh,
Director
point of
Vale.
order.
Yeah.
I believe, did we not just approve that as part of the consent agenda?
Oh, no, I'm separating the two. So I specifically, the last one was just GP1 and the second one would be, if that makes sense.
Okay, no, it just kind of defeats the purpose of a consent agenda, but
I just separated based because one was submitted by myself and the other was by the president, and due to the errors last time, I thought this would be a bit more appropriate to specifically, hash out any issues. Does that make sense? Or
I guess it does. I was just under the impression when we did the previous motion, I'm not, let's just keep moving, I guess, and just do another motion.
okay, all right, okay. Motion by, so that was by Director Shandok and Director Vale yourself. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, any discussion on the matter? Okay, as I see none. All those in favor, Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Shandok. Thank you. Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director May,
I approve.
Director McCarthy,
I approve.
Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Motion passed unanimous consent. Now going up to comments from the Chair of the Board and CGO. So that is myself. So welcome back everyone to our I guess our first regular meeting of September. So they said, thankfully, hopefully no more emergency meetings. I'll just get straight to the point. So we have received, in terms of the board sector hirings, we have received 7 applicants. I'm still waiting for Shauna to send those over to me, but once that gets sent, we can begin a hiring process, and that will be discussed later on in the board hiring committee decision. I've also received great interest from, I believe, 2 candidates about the DRO position, but have not confirmed if I received their applications of the second candidate, but we do have at least 1 candidate. And then moving on to the by-election updates, we have 1 Brantford candidate who has been confirmed, so that's an excellent update. And we have potentially 5 Waterloo candidates, although not all of them have been able to get their signature forms. So according to the elections policy, since we couldn't fill, like we didn't have enough candidates to fill in the 3 director seats, we've extended the nomination period for additional 24 hours, so we can hopefully get people to sign their forms. So at the end of this meeting, I'm going to be asking for everyone to use their connections to hopefully just drum up support and just get the 50 signatures for everyone there. We have one person from Brantford. His name is Eric Sanderson. Yes, Executive Director Champagne.
I just have a quick question. So the Brantford candidate that has submitted his package already, he'll be acclaimed?
Yes,
And
so
then
that is
the-
according to the election policy. So yeah, that he
okay.
will be acclaimed.
And then the
and-
other candidates, assuming we get more than 2, will have an election to fill the other 2 spots, correct?
Precisely, yes.
Okay,
So
thank
that
you.
will be in the elections policy under the reopening of nomination section,
Okay.
section 1 and 1.1.
Yep.
But I
just
might
clar-
be mistaken on that one there.
Just clarifying for myself. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, so in terms of that, the CRO and I have sent out the email to all the candidates and also let them know that the all candidates meeting will be pushed 24 hours. So I believe it will still be at 6 p.m. but at tomorrow. So hopefully, if we can, best case scenario, we can get 6 candidates out, which would be amazing, because I think we've all put a lot of work to make sure to I guess right the wrongs of the summer, and hopefully we can start off the new year fresh. And some additional updates on that regard in terms of the EDI training. So after some talks with the executive director as well as our director of research policy advocacy, although that might be in the wrong order, Ian Muller, it was determined that having the EDI training before the election would be imprudent, because it would be better to have all the new board members on board with that. So the exact process that was specified in the July meeting will be still a go-ahead, but as soon as the fall by-election will be completed. And we're in the process of still working with the training and getting the I guess equity, diversity, inclusion training going on too as well for the board. But I believe that is the extent of my comments. So opening up the for questions. Yes, Director Vale.
Yes, through to you, Mr. Chair. I guess a couple items. I guess the one item, and I'm wondering, and maybe this just in terms of for sake of time and just ease, because I'm not sure whether you have the information readily available, but if we can maybe just get a brief sort of outline or report for the next board meeting or even the one after, potentially depending on the timeline. More or less, if you can throw something together, more or less what meetings, given that all of the meetings we've had since, because as of yet, I don't know that, like, we only have maybe 1 or 2 meetings in camera, I think agenda minutes approved. So just kind of the state of where the minutes are at, because I'm finding it quite frustrating, to be honest, that I can't really refer back to things to find out when I want to go back and check, hey, what was the actual wording of the motion and stuff. So it's kind of, because we don't really have we haven't had any minutes approved for, I don't know how many months really.
So what are the status of the meeting? Minutes,
yeah, so
right?
basically by the maybe breaking it down by like an open session, closed session, and then approved or not, or where the state, where they, and when we can kind of expect them.
Okay, so just to kind of the long story short, so the meeting minutes, the only thing we have up to is unfortunately the May in-camera meeting minutes that we we've been submitted, and that's just unfortunately just due to the fact that the secretary, Vivian, so she resigned due to her other commitments, as 18 coordinator and other jobs. So in my conversation with her, she's in the process but still not getting it done, which is extremely unfortunate. And so I think this is a lesson that we can learn for our next upcoming hiring. In a discussion with Shauna and Chris Turner, the final paycheck for the honorarium is being withheld until she can get that work done. So worst case scenario, we'll have to, if she cannot get that work done, we'll have to make some sort of like agreement with the new board secretary, whoever it will be, to help update the minutes. And I know from past experience, that's not the first time that has had to happen. I believe Chair Kovacs had to deal with the same similar position about 3-4 years ago. Yes, Executive Director Champagne.
I just have two quick questions. First, is there a deadline for the board is she the former board secretary or whatever the board secretary to get those minutes finished?
The deadline was supposed to be basically before we hired the new board secretary, but I think that just basically given the amount of work, I think to be frank, I think she's given up, and I don't think that the monetary withholding the monetary incentive is sufficient enough, just due to her workload.
Okay, that's fine. And then she would be working off of recordings, correct?
Yes.
So if the board is amenable to it, we might be able to talk to some of our admin staff to see if they might be able to transcribe those minutes and have those ready for the board in a hopefully timely manner before the next board secretary starts.
I think that would be a very, very satisfactory solution. And then I think given that, then we can have, once the fall by-election is complete or the board secretary hiring is done, we can go through with the ad hoc committee on like governance structure in terms of having a conversation of what the minutes look like again. And I think that will be very productive timeline. So really appreciate the help from the operation team to Executive Director Champagne. Director Bothwell.
So I think what Phil's suggesting is a really great idea. I just want to clarify, because you said the meetings minutes need to be done before a new board secretary is hired. Have we reiterated this to her? Have we sent her reminders? Because I just want to make sure we've done the most we can on our part to be you need to get these done.
Yeah, so I had a meeting with the board secretary, and then put her in contact with Shauna. But I think that with the whole craziness that week was, I think that those reminders were lost there in that regard. So after this meeting, more than happy to send a new reminder, but without being too disingenuous, because I know that the board secretary is not here and I never want to say anything while someone's not here, but I think that in the worst case scenario, we can assume that the minutes will not be done past the June meeting. So, yeah, does that answer your question, Director Rothwell?
Yeah, and I'm assuming that's including all the emergency board meetings.
I think that's what kind of really kind of got her into the situation where exactly where there were so many meetings in the summertime, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Director Vale.
Yeah, just to comment, I think that's a great idea. If, the executive director, his comments regarding maybe if they have some capacity potentially, and obviously I think we don't need. I don't think there's urgency. I think we could be quite reasonable. I think as long as we kind of get them at some point, these minutes to. And I think it'll be nice, hopefully with this ad hoc committee, I think we can kind of get some more streamlined, maybe the minutes and agenda, and then really get them in a more timely manner, but also reduce sort of maybe the time it's going to take to prepare them too. Because I think the one frustration for me too is when we're approving these minutes months later, we're setting ourselves potentially up to risk too. Because quite frankly, I can't remember exactly all the nitty gritty of that 2-3 months ago, right? And most of us don't have time to watch the recording.
No, no, absolutely. And I think I definitely know that Director Vale, that you're very fond of the way that this Senate, Academic Senate Lori does their job. So I think that this will be a good conversation to have a real, discussion on what is it in terms of the best governance, right? Befitting our policy. So yeah. I think we're all satisfied with that point. Is there any other questions that you have directed at myself about the updates I gave, namely about the by-election too as well, or? Yes, Director Vale.
Me again. I guess the one question I have or comment, and I don't know if this is an oversight or not, but I don't believe we technically approved the overall elections policy at the emergency board meeting last week. I know we approved the constituent element, so I don't know if we need to do that as well, still technically, or sort of where that would stand.
I mean, at least from my understanding, when we had the briefing note in terms of determining whether or not the election would be virtual or not, we had the kind of full discussion, everything from the marketing to like the candidacy, the nomination period, right? Everything like that, just broken down to into the various
Right.
chunks that were very specific that could be changed, and the elections policy draft was presented there too as well, with the different changes that would be done depending on what the vote is. But if you feel that the board didn't approve it, then I don't see
Yeah.
why an additional motion can be heard. But at least in my eyes, I think that the board considered that the election policy to be passed at that point,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I'm just going by the motions that were made that I thought they were specific to those elements. I'll just make a motion really more to cover a basis, I think, to approve the elections policy that was presented.
No, sure, go ahead. So motion by Director Vale, seconded by Director Del Giudice. Would like to speak to your motion. Any discussion of matter? As I see none. All those in favor, Director Rothwell,
I approve.
Director Shanda, thank you. Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director May,
I approve.
Director McCarthy,
I approve.
Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Okay, so consider the elections policy for the by-election, fall by-election passed officially. So, okay, other than that, is there any other questions pertaining to myself as chair of the board and CGO? Oh, I did forget to make one more comment. During my time in Brantford, it was an excellent time, and I got to meet a lot of the students there and got to hear a lot of their concerns. So what I will do once I have a little bit more time is I took a list of notes of areas which they were extremely concerned, right? And and I think that we could present as recommendations to the president. So I will be doing that on a later note, just some things where I think Bradford students are focused on in terms of, especially once we have the SLL coming up. I think this will be a great opportunity to advertise and say hey, if you're interested in presenting this type of project to fit these needs, and this is a great avenue for it, right? So that's just one last comment I had to make there. But if there's nothing else, then I'll pass it forward to comments from the president and CEO.
Hello, sorry. Okay, so I am working on a project to get all of my VP team and AVPs into first year classes before the fall semester to ensure that they're aware of what mental health resources are available to them, and also sharing with them the new Empower Me and also what programs that we offer with the Students Union, such as Peer Connect and Healthy Lifestyles. It is a really challenging thing because we're looking to get into almost every single class available. So that has been one of my largest focuses this past month. Obviously, there was also orientation week. September 30th, we have decided that we are going to be, after this meeting, we will be posting that we are closing our offices for Orange Shirt Day, and we will be doing some things for our staff in order to educate ourselves with Indigenous initiatives that we might be able to take on, and or also just educate ourselves beyond that. Further, video updates were asked. last time in our emergency meeting. So I do have them here pulled up. So I'll just read out some of the information that we were able to receive from Megan, our marketing director. So it was played at the opening ceremonies during orientation week. The Instagram post itself got 1,300 views. However, it was also sent to all the emails of undergraduate students where almost 10,000 students had viewed it or opened the email so far. 46% of first years and 45 on the Waterloo campus and 45% of Brantford first years. So obviously it will be continued to be shared throughout the remainder of my term, and it is all on our website and will remain on our Instagram. Beyond that, as many of you may have seen, there is a walkout that we have organized in the last day and a half, which has been pretty much my entire focus these past 2 days. It has been extremely challenging to pull it together, but we are really looking forward to seeing the turnout on campus. Looking at the marketing so far, just looking at the Instagram posts, this is probably one of the most well-viewed Instagram posts that we've had in a really long time. It's already at 600 likes, which I can tell you is not common. Beyond that, unfortunately, Erin Quinn, our VP of University Affairs, has taken on a role in Whistler, BC. So she'll be leaving us next Friday, and we will be opening up the hiring process for someone to replace her. But during the meantime, I'll be sitting in on USA meetings. And then lastly, we are working towards an EDI initiative focused on Indigenous education for students following the September 30th week, working with my team to potentially put together a Q&A event followed by a film, and we'll be fundraising for the Woodland Cultural Fund. That is everything.
Oh, thank you, President Yamloff. Now opening up the floor to questions. Yes, Director Vale.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Madam President, I just have a couple of questions. The first, could you provide like the financial, because I know that was one of the contingencies, I believe, if I recall, like how much basically that video ended up costing in the long run?
I can share that. I don't have the exact numbers. I'm sure I can send it to Andrew numbers wise. I know that there was tax that will be deducted too beyond that. So I'll ensure that either Phil or myself gets it to you over the email this week.
Thanks.
Yeah,
And then my other,
I'm sure to follow up on that one there.
that'd be great, just for the transparency piece on that, the over 10K piece. And then the other piece was so you mentioned about some sort of walkout. I'm not sure if you could kind of elaborate on what that is.
Oh yeah, apologies. Sorry. I've been talking about it all day. So now I think everyone knows. Basically it is in relations to email that I received from the University of Guelph Students Union saying that they were hoping to get a Ontario-wide walkout this Thursday, but it was only 2 days notice. So I believe only ourselves in Guelph might be participating this Thursday, but following this Thursday, I know that a lot of other universities such as Queen's AMS will be hosting a form of walkout. It's to support survivors of sexual assault and violence and gender-based violence as well. And it's kind of to show, one, that we stand in solidarity with those individuals, and two, to change the campus culture across Ontario. So we have a few speakers, but it's only going to be a half-hour period in the quad on the Waterloo campus and in the RAC courtyard on the Brantford campus.
Okay, does that answer all your questions, Director Vale?
You know, it does. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Did I see any other hands up before? If not, then I have some quick questions. So it does sad to hear that Erin Quinn is leaving, after a long term at Laurier. I just want to know, how much of a risk does that present to the operations team, moving forward until we find a replacement?
So that doesn't pose much of a risk other than it's just a lot more work for me. regardless, like I think that we'll be able to manage. I'll be sitting in USA steering committee, so maybe working a bit more hours than I would usually in my week until we do find a replacement. We're hopeful that we'll be able to find a replacement by November, like, and having them transitioned at that point. But the hiring process will only begin following this meeting.
Okay, awesome. And I have two more questions. One is the hospitality services update. So I did see that we got a new kitchen manager, which is great. And then Will's has open, when it means open, is it now open for like full dine-in service now and not just takeout?
Phil, I will delegate that to you.
The answer to that question is no. We are still in a bit of a hiring crisis, trying to backfill positions. The kitchen is a particularly difficult space to hire people in time. So as we hire people and continue to expand the staff team, the hospitality team will be expanding their hours. So it'll remain takeout for now. I believe they expanded to late last week online ordering as well as walk-up ordering. And that I believe next week they're going to start opening up for lunchtime walk-up order takeout, and then expanding their hours a little bit in the evening. So instead of 4 to 8, it'll be 4 to 9 for walk-up and online ordering. And as we slowly get more and more staff, the hours will open up more appropriately for the community. And when we're ready to open up safely in person, we will. But based on the hiring rates, we're not entirely sure what those dates would actually look like.
Okay, yeah, because that would be my follow-up question. Okay, so yeah.
It is worth noting that part of the Truth and Reconciliation Day on September 30th, that the Students' Union will also be not opening WILFs on that particular day. The only formal function of the Students' Union that'll be opening up for safety of students is foot patrol on both our campuses.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that that part is clear.
I think there was a little note there somewhere regarding that in the board report. No, I think that's good to know just for the record too as well. My final question was that in terms of a week, so like I know that the expense will be coming in, but are we gonna is the president gonna go, or like the operations team simply going to ascertain feedback from this? Because I think that this has been like, now our first actual like a week since for over a year now. So I just want to know if there's a process there to kind of ascertain that and like trying to like leave some sort of transition report for the next president too as well.
So we do transition reports normally, and if that is a part of it, then that will obviously be in it. That I usually delegate to the like Ty and the VPs who are in relations to organizing those sorts of things, and Jason also, to gather feedback. But if that's something that they've done in the past, I'm sure that that's something that will continue. But Phil?
Yeah, traditionally we end up sending out emails to everybody who signed up to participate, because the people who signed up to participate versus people who actually participated, those numbers are not always the same. So for sure an email will go out and kind of have people kind of fill out that information and be able to digest it, and then ultimately get a transition report from both Talia Pitt and Paris Ladd, who acted as the heads of the orientation week for those particular campuses. And then ultimately it will be Josh Smith and Ty Thomas that will be responsible for putting together the entire feedback package for the orientation week program.
Yeah, and if the board wanted to request that, could we get presented to it out of curiosity?
When that report is ready for consumption, I'm sure we'd be more than happy to share it with the board. But full disclosure, that probably won't be until probably mid to late October, if not early November, just because it takes time to kind of get that feedback and disseminate it properly.
Okay, awesome. Okay, no, that I think suffices all my questions. I'm going to open back the floor. Is there any other questions for President Yamla? As I see none, I'd like to thank her for her time and her many exciting updates. Wish all the best for your work with USA. Next, moving on to the comments of the Executive Director and COO.
Yeah, I don't, make sure I'm not, yeah, okay. I don't have a whole ton to update beyond what was already submitted. Obviously, one of the major things is the continuing ongoing project of the second floor renovation of the Fred Nicholls Campus Center. We officially had that project released to us last week, although it's still not complete. But the washrooms are very usable. The floor is very accessible. We're in the process of updating some signage to make sure that students, when they're up there, maintain proper social distancing, proper capacities, and that they try to wear their masks at all times, because there is still a face covering policy that's very active at the university. Part of the thing that will help that, as well as in the concourse, and I assume the same thing is happening in Brantford, but I haven't been on Brantford campus yet since the beginning of classes, is we have the I can't remember, safety ambassador team, which is being run through the dean of students offices on both campuses to basically go ensure that students are complying with the safety policies regarding COVID. Those folks start next week, so we're looking forward to that. Yeah, the water is officially drinkable on that floor. We were told to put up signs that said the water wasn't potable, but that has officially been cleared as of this afternoon. So those signs will come down. If you really want to drink from the sink in the bathrooms of the second floor of the FNCC, you can feel free to do that. The filtered water fountain has always been functional, so there is still filtered water available. And slowly yet surely, all of that project will come to fruition. It looks like we'll be getting the cage, the security cage for the UDesk early next week, and then the desk for the UDesk probably the week after. And so that'll hopefully afford us reading week to be able to make the transition from the UDesk on the first floor up to the second floor. And then hopefully that'll be that. One of the things that if anybody's up on the second floor, they'll notice is that the lighting is a lot brighter and a lot more consistent across the floor, which has made the furniture that I thought would be good enough a little bit more exposed in terms of how dirty it is and used it is. But the project is pretty healthily under budget right now. So there is the opportunity to get new furniture to replace that furniture so that it's a little bit more consistent across the board. So we're actually pretty excited about that. It's just been frustrating to get us to this point, and we will be patient and persistent and get this thing across the finish line before too long.
Okay. Thank you for updates. Opening now the floor to ask questions to Executive Director and COO. I do have one quick question, but I am very much wary of the time. I know that you mentioned, prior and now in this meeting about the desire to get more new furniture. So, do you think that would be done? I was going to say SLL, sorry, but will that be done through like by what means and how?
So my hopes are that we have enough room in the budget that exists that was prior approved by the student life levy in the original project proposal, that we'll be able to kind of get that furniture in place through that budget. If there's anything that goes above and beyond what's left in that budget, I will bring back a proposal to the board, potentially to dip into some of our funds. But I'm very confident and very hopeful that we'll be able to make everything fit within the budget that we've had established for a few years now.
Okay, excellent. That literally, I just wanted to ask about the risk of going over budget. Perfection. Thank you so much for that. Do we have any other questions for the Executive Director? If not, then I will thank him for his time and his updates, and we'll move on to next fall election updates. So I pretty much gave the majority of my updates during my comments. However, I'll continue saying that we've been also in the process of reaching out to the Department of Residence to put posters up and send a message out for all the dons on their Monday area team meetings, so we can hopefully get them to, hopefully drum up the first year vote too as well. Once the DRO is hired, then we'll begin the process of hiring the election volunteers. In terms of the voting system, me, the CRO, as well as the Executive Director had a meeting with a representative from ICT about getting the voting system up. So this will be the normal one that we've been using that was approved of during the last emergency meeting. Once a test has been confirmed, the CRO and I will be sending a report back to the board via email about the confirmation for the election. In terms of facilitating elections, so as of now, all the candidates have been confirmed once tomorrow to be all in person. So I think we'll be then exercising the hybrid elections. So there will be posters in person, but most of the events will be online. So in terms of the open forum, that will be held online, but we'll be opening up like booths, hopefully on both campuses, to allow students to like drop their questions ahead of time. And then all will need to be done is to have the moderator, according to the election policy, to come in and step forth in doing that. So once we confirm everything like that, then I'll be in contact with student publications to just see what we can do to create more outreach for the election. Voting will be done as per normal with online with a link that students can access via the email once it's sent to them, but we're also incorporating the in-person aspect of having booths, like, you know, I guess mobile booths around different sections of the campus that we think students are going to be in, but also having like a QR code that we can just pass around so students can just quickly scan that, and that will help with the social distancing. And I also like to say that the marketing team, Megan, has been immense help with helping us build a lot of graphics. So we'll be seeing that be posted on the Instagram page in the next couple of days. And as well, we'll be trying to repost some of those on the like class of 20XX Laurier Facebook pages too, as well, wherever we know that students congregate. Sierra Odell Judice, do you want to add anything to those updates?
You pretty much covered everything, but I really do want to stress, please send the nomination packages wherever you can. Try to get as many signatures. Try to send the virtual signature forms wherever you can, not nomination packages. We really want to get as many signatures as possible. There are still a few candidates who have not met the requirements. So please try to send them wherever you can. And the deadline is tomorrow by 12 p.m. So please do whatever you can, send it wherever, friends, clubs, wherever you can.
Yeah, I myself have already sent it to all my dons in my area team, as well as the students in my floor, and trying to like canvas votes. I mean, not votes, signatures too as well. So 50 signatures, that's not too hard. We're a team of 9 directors, so I think that we can get this done. And if we can, if we get it done having 6 candidates or 1 claim of 5 candidates running Warlow, I think that is pretty impressive for given the short turnaround this election. So yeah. With that being said, I think there's no decision that requires since nothing of substance came up in our discussion, unless any of the directors here have any questions here. Do we have any questions at all? Anyone from the gallery? Okay, so with that being said, we'll move on to the board hiring committee decisions. So we, as I said, we are hiring our DRO for the Brantford campus, and we are hiring a board secretary again. So in this case, I like to again reintroduce the practice that I've been advocating for, which is having a hiring panel of directors here. So in the last hiring panel, we had a group of, I believe, 6 directors in total, which include myself, 2 of which 2 of the directors unfortunately were the ones who resigned. So now we have, I guess, a decision where we can either institute a panel to hire, like, we can either just have a motion to like recall that same existing committee that was struck before the ad hoc committee, or if you would like, we can do a committee election again, see who's interested based on new time commitments, because I know that it's September now. A quick question. So this is for the hiring for both the board secretary and the DRO, since pretty much we're going to do them simultaneously. So it makes a lot of sense just to have all these interviews together. Director Vale.
Just a thought, and I think one thing is, part of me thinks it might be a bit easier if you just strike the old ad hoc committee, because I think pretty well most people in that committee are going to already know the secretary position inside and out, I think, at this point. So that might help save some time there too,
Okay.
assuming those people are still interested. So
Mhm,
I would make a motion to that effect, but maybe we should see if people are interested first.
Okay, perfect. But before you do that, I'm just gonna, for everyone's knowledge and remembrance, the members of that ad hoc committee were Director Vale, Director Del Giudice, Director Shanduk, and Vice Chair Stevie. Given that there is no Brantford director on the panel, so I am aware of Director May's current time crunch with the time difference. So if the board deems it sufficient to just have Warloo directors on the panel, then we could potentially go with that route there. Or if we feel that we need to have the Bradford director sit on it for the representation, then we can also go with that route there. Yes, Director Vale.
I think it would be good if we have Brantford representation, but I think the question would be, would Director May be interested in sitting on this the committee?
Director May, would you be interested in seeing the hiring panel committee?
I'm kind of indifferent because I know if I'm on it, it makes it like harder to find a time with like the time change and then like my working hours for like meetings. So it doesn't really matter to me. I can sit on it if we want like the representation, but I also understand that it's hard.
I think what we can do is, if you sit on it, Director, maybe we can find some sort of compromise where we can come together notes, and you can, based on hearing a discussion, be, I guess, somewhat of a devil's advocate, you know, of third party perspective, perhaps, if you can't make the interview times. Is the board satisfactory with that kind of direction, or do we feel that it's on the hiring panel has to be attending the interviews? Director Vale.
You know, I think that to me that makes sense, because I know there was times where people were maybe not able to attend one interview last time or stuff like that. So I think to me that seems reasonable. So I'll make a motion to the fact that maybe we, I guess, reinstate the or resurrect the old ad hoc committee with the addition of Director May.
Yeah, okay, so yes, yeah, so motion on table to restrike the board hiring ad hoc committee with the addition of the acclamation of Director May to that committee. Motion by Director Vale, seconded by, is that seconded Director Bothwell, or is it a question?
Yeah, it is.
A second?
Yeah, a second.
Okay, perfect. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion to matter? As I see none, then all those in favor, Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Shanduk. Perfect, thank you. Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director May.
Do I have to abstain from this?
I think for the purposes of this one, since it's, I don't believe that there is a sufficient conflict of interest. The conflict of interest in this committee would only exist if you knew who the candidate was, and then you would have to excuse yourself from the that decision.
Okay. I approve.
Director McCarthy,
I approve.
Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
Vice Chair Stevie.
I approve.
The motion passes with unanimous consent. Now moving on to new business and announcements. Does anyone want to share anything?
I am so sorry for being late to this meeting. And I am also very sorry for the background noise. My roommates are very into Survivor and I don't see the hype. I'm just trying to survive school.
Oh, you and me both, friend. You and me both. It's weird being back on campus. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like a weird hybrid situation where it's like half in person, half online. Does anyone else have any new business to make? I will say this weekend is homecoming, so for those who want to celebrate, I say do so, but with abundant caution given social distancing. But if any of you guys manage to be lucky enough to get the football tickets, I am so jealous of you because I want to get it. One of my dons here is on the football players, and I couldn't even get a ticket from him. So there you go. Yes, only sanctioned events, stay safe. You know, we are leaders and mentors of the university, but at the same time, have a happy homecoming too as well. And with that optimistic note, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motioned by Director Del Giudice, seconded by Director Shando. Would you like to speak to your motion? Any discussion on the matter? As I see none, all those in favor, Director Bothwell,
I approve.
Director Shando. Thank you. Director Del Giudice,
I approve.
Director May,
I approve.
Director McCarthy,
I approve.
Director Symington,
I approve.
Director Vale,
I approve.
and Vice Chair Sneedy.
I approve.
Or the motion passed unanimous consent. Have a great evening, everyone. For those in the committees, I'll be in contact with you. And for student publications, I will also be in contact with you in regards to the by-election too as well. Okay, have a great night, everyone.
Bye. Oh, send the forms to Tyler, please.
Yes. Trust me, we are on that. Yes, and please get those nominations, the signature packets out, Victoria, please. We need.
I've honestly, Andrew, I've sent.
Oh, stop recording, Andrew.
Oh, yes, excellent.
I sent to everyone.